What would you do if you lost everything tomorrow? Your job, your savings, the people you love. Would you fall apart, or would you still be standing? Because here's the truth. Life isn't going to ask if you're ready. It's just going to hit you. And when it does, there's only one thing that can hold you up. A trained mind, solid as a rock, unbreakable. Are you willing to build that mind before it's too late? In this video, I'm going to show you 12 Stoic principles that can turn your mind into an unshakable fortress. Yes, you heard that right. Unshakable. It doesn't matter if you're feeling scared, lost, or uncertain right now. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true peace doesn't come from the outside. It comes from mastering yourself. If you apply what you're about to see, you'll start training your mind to stand strong through any storm, no matter what's falling apart out there. Are you ready to stop depending on the world? Ready to turn your mind into your most powerful tool? Then stick around, because my friend, today your way of living is about to change, forever. But before we begin, as usual, I want to tell you a story that shows just how powerful the mind can be. It's the story of Angela. Because sometimes, it's right in the mud, the cold, and the loneliness where we discover what we're really made of. Angela lived in a small wooden house at the edge of a beautiful valley, surrounded by mountains, animals, and sunrises so breathtaking they almost hurt to look at. For 6 years, she had been running a little rural lodge she built from scratch with enormous effort. She grew her own vegetables, raised chickens, and welcomed guests who came in search of what she believed she had found: peace. But one winter, the perfect storm hit. One of those storms you see on every news channel, the kind people talk about for years. A violent squall tore off the roof, destroyed most of the garden, and caused a small landslide that blocked the only road to the property. Within days, every single reservation was canceled. The insurance didn't cover the damages, and to top it all off, her dog, her most loyal companion, got sick suddenly, and she couldn't save him. Angela went from living her dream to being trapped in her worst nightmare. From greeting tourists with homemade pie, to being alone with no income, no safe roof, and without her only companion. She slept on a makeshift couch while dealing with endless paperwork, frustrating phone calls, and a heavy feeling that everything was falling apart. But the worst part wasn't the lack of money or the repairs. It was the feeling that her life no longer had meaning. She had gone all in on a dream that, all of a sudden, seemed as fragile as morning frost. One night, while digging through a box of old books and letters from her father, she found a dusty, damp-smelling hardcover notebook. On the first page, a phrase was written in pencil in steady handwriting. There are things that depend on you and things that don't. Peace begins when you stop fighting what you can't control. Epictetus. That phrase hit her like a slap and a hug all at once. Until that moment, she'd spent weeks trying to force things that didn't depend on her. The land drying faster, the bureaucracy moving quicker, money coming from somewhere. Nothing worked. But that night, everything shifted. She made a list of what she could control. 1, her attitude. 2, her physical state, her appearance. 3, how she was going to rebuild her business, even if it was bit by bit. The next day, she pulled on her boots, grabbed a hammer, and started with something simple: reinforcing a window. Then she fixed the chicken coop. Then she planted garlic. Soon after, she began documenting the whole process online, partly to promote her lodge, but also to track her own progress. And slowly, what looked like the end of a life's work became the beginning of a new chapter. An online community began to form around her. People who supported her, shared her story, and even offered help. Clients started showing up from faraway places, visitors from all over the world. A fresh start. Angela was never the same again, not because she became famous or wealthy, but because something inside her hardened, without turning bitter. When I stopped fighting the mountain and started climbing it step by step, she says now, I realized the only thing I really had to fix was my mind. And if someone today asks her how she endured so many blows without breaking, Angela answers with a half smile. While harvesting lettuce in the rain, I learned to tell the difference between what's mine and what's not. And that, my friend, I learned from an old Greek sage who never set foot on a farm. Inspiring, right? Angela's story isn't just a lesson in resilience, it's Stoicism in its purest form. Because when everything around you collapses, it's not about fighting the storm. It's about learning how to navigate it. So now, get ready, because we're going to turn your mind into an indestructible fortress, just like Angela did. And if this content is bringing you value, consider subscribing and becoming an exclusive member to access unique benefits. And tell us in the comments, what steals your peace on a daily basis? What storm do you feel you can't overcome with the power of your mind? Or just write, I am Stoic. From today on, I choose my peace above any storm. Let that phrase be the commitment that begins your transformation. 1. Stop fighting what's not up to you. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." And you know what Marcus Aurelius said? Because he was just as clear about it. The emperor wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." 2,000 years later, that wisdom still pulses, like someone whispering advice directly in your ear. If you want to withstand life's chaos, start by giving up the fight against what was never in your hands. Picture this. You've spent weeks preparing for a trip, and it's not just any flight. It's that job interview in another city that could change your career, or a crucial meeting with an investor, or maybe a long-awaited reunion with a loved one you haven't seen in years. Everything is ready. Your bag is packed, your outfit laid out. You wake up early, rush through breakfast, leave the house buzzing with excitement, and just as you arrive at the airport, there it is. Flight canceled. No warning, no backup option. In seconds, everything crumbles. Frustration rises like wildfire. You head straight to the airline counter, complain, demand a solution. Want another flight right now, but guess what? There are no more flights that day. Your mind scrambles for 1,000 alternatives, but there are none. You know why? Because this is out of your control. The decision is not yours. And here comes the key lesson. The sooner you accept that not everything is in your hands, the sooner you'll start using your energy wisely. Because trying to control the uncontrollable is like trying to catch the wind with your hands. It just wears you out. But if instead you raise a sail, you can let that same wind carry you in a new direction. In real life, this means letting go of your obsession with other people's opinions, your boss's decisions, the message that never arrives, the traffic, the rain, the way you think things should be. There are so many things we can't control. What if you stopped resisting and started adapting instead? Think about it. Acceptance doesn't make you weak. It makes you free, it makes you wise, and above all, it makes you resilient. And it's not just the philosophers saying this. Modern psychology backs it up. When you stop fighting what's out of your hands and start focusing on what is, your mind gets stronger. Psychologist Julian Rotter called this an internal locus of control. What does that mean? That even if you can't control what happens out there, you can choose how you respond. Sounds familiar, right? Of course, the Stoics already knew this, and that changes everything. A study published in Frontiers in Psychology proved it during the pandemic. People who focused their energy on what they could do, like adjusting to new routines, taking care of their health, or staying productive, handled those months way better than those who focused only on what they couldn't do. It wasn't luck. It was mindset. They knew where to put their attention. So, my friend, letting go of what's not up to you isn't giving up. It's redirecting your mind to what actually makes it strong. Pay attention only to what's in your control. Let the rest go. Why stay stuck on what you can't change? That only causes stress and drains you. But when you start cultivating that inner clarity, you train your mind to stay steady, no matter what comes from the outside. And yeah, I know, it sounds simple, but it's hard to do. But trust me, the Stoics didn't speak from comfort. Epictetus was a slave. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor during wartime, and they both said the same thing. Don't place your peace in what you can't control. Place it in your attitude, your thinking, your actions. That choice is your superpower. That control is yours. And that's what starts to shape you into someone who doesn't break from what's outside. Let's make it practical. Here are 3 steps to start today. First, when something gets under your skin, stop and ask yourself, is this up to me? If the answer is no, what do you think you should do? Let it go. Breathe. Return to the present. Second, direct your energy towards something that is in your hands. What you say, how you react, what you do right now. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, the never-ending kind. You're 2 hours late for work and your boss won't stop calling. You can't move the cars, but you can put on your favorite song, take a deep breath. Use that time to mentally review something that inspires you. The situation doesn't change, but you do. And that change is where your real strength begins. This is how you train a mind that doesn't break, by learning to release what's not up to you and using that freed-up energy to build the one thing you'll always be able to control: yourself. 2, embrace what comes your way without complaining. Have you ever thought about how much time we waste complaining about things we didn't choose? The traffic after work, the rain on the one day you didn't bring an umbrella, last-minute changes that mess up your plans. I know. In the moment, it can feel like life's working against you. But deep down, you know that's not true, right? These things just happen, whether we like them or not. And yet, we react as if complaining would somehow change them. Listen, the Stoics had a radical way of looking at this. They didn't just tell you to accept what you can't change. They went further. They told you to embrace it, to love it. Yes, even the obstacles, the detours, the arguments. You might be thinking, these Stoics are crazy. How am I supposed to love being late for work? Aha! But it's not crazy at all, my friend. Let me explain. That mindset has a name: amor fati, the love of fate. It means embracing what happens to you. Because even if you didn't choose it, you still get to choose what you do with it. The Stoics loved the good things that happened to them, of course. But they also embraced the bad. They made it part of their journey, part of their growth. It's not easy, I know, but it's one of the most powerful ideas you can apply if you want to build a mind that doesn't break every time life throws a curveball. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, lost everything in a shipwreck. Everything. His boat, his fortune, his life plan. And still, he later wrote, "I made a prosperous voyage when I was shipwrecked and landed in Athens." Now that is wisdom. He didn't write, "What a disaster I've lived through." Of course not. He embraced his fate, and that moment became the start of a philosophy that's helped millions for centuries. Zeno didn't get stuck in loss. He didn't wallow in misery. He turned the crash into a turning point. His shipwreck wasn't the end, it was the beginning. Seneca talked about this too. He said that while we can't always choose our circumstances, we can always choose our attitude. And he didn't give empty examples. He spoke of illness, even loss. He taught that the wise don't waste energy on pointless complaints. They act with clarity. That if something leaves your life, you don't shrug with resignation. You accept it with strength. As if to say, this came my way and even so I can live with dignity. You probably know someone who's always complaining. No matter what happens, there's always something wrong, something unfair, something that wasn't supposed to happen that way. That mindset wears you down, and not just others. It drains you. Because when all you focus on is what you don't like, you don't do anything to improve. You stay stuck. Now think of the opposite, that person who, in the face of difficulty, rolls up their sleeves and keeps going. Who adapts, calmly, without drama. Who finds a way? Who do you think has the stronger mind? Who do you think sleeps better? Life isn't perfect. No one is immune to pain, loss, or failure. But the difference lies in what you do when those things arrive. Do you stay trapped in the complaint, or do you turn the problem into part of your story? Think about it like this. Life is a river. You can spend the day cursing the current, or you can learn how to swim with it. It's not about giving up. It's about flowing with intelligence, about letting go of "this shouldn't have happened" and starting to say, "This is what's happening, what can I do with it?" If you want to start applying this, try this. When something doesn't go as planned, stop asking, "Why me?" and change the question to, "What can I do now with this?" Then try to take one small action of acceptance. Change clothes, tidy up, send that message you've been putting off. Something simple, something real. And finally, say out loud, even if it feels strange, "This is part of my path," because the more you say it, the stronger that idea becomes inside you. This isn't about clenching your teeth and powering through. It's about walking with steady steps, even when the ground is wet. That's how you train a mind that doesn't sink. Not because life is easy, but because you stop complaining and start transforming. 3. Think of the worst to live better. Yeah, I know. It sounds strange. But imagining the worst isn't pessimism. It's training for the mind. The problem isn't that life is hard. The problem is that we get used to expecting it not to be. From the time we're kids, we're taught to chase comfort, success, stability. But no one prepares us for what's guaranteed to come: discomfort, unexpected blows, and loss. And when those things arrive, they break us. Not because they're extraordinary, but because we didn't see them coming. We believe everything should always go well, that we must avoid problems and hardship at all costs. But here's a spoiler: life doesn't work like that. And the sooner we accept it, the stronger we become. As psychologist Sigmund Freud once said, "I've been a fortunate man. Nothing in life has come easy to me." Can you see the power in those words? Fortune doesn't lie in avoiding obstacles. It lies in learning to overcome them. Now think, how many times have you felt betrayed by life just because things didn't go the way you expected? A lot, right? You expect to smile and get an insult. Oof, bad day. The game starts at 6, but you get home at 6:15. Ugh, what a mess. But tell me, who promised that everything would always go your way? No one. You just assumed it, and your mind adjusted to that expectation. And that unrealistic expectation is what hurts you the most. When you imagine the worst, you're not attracting bad luck. You're diffusing the mental trap. You're saying, "I already know this might happen. And if it does, I'll still be standing." It's a way to take emotional control before the hit lands, like training in the rain, so that the real game, even in a storm, won't throw you off. Donald Robertson, author of How to Think Like a Roman Emperor, explains that mentally rehearsing possible failures or losses lowers the surprise and anxiety when they actually happen. When you've already pictured it, it's not unknown anymore. Your brain recognizes it, and that lowers the emotional intensity. Robertson says, it's not about digging a hole of fear. It's about building a mental shelter where you can stand firm when the unexpected arrives. And guess who knew this centuries ago? Yep, the Stoics. They called this technique premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. Seneca taught that by imagining the loss of what you value most, you actually learn to value it more. And Marcus Aurelius practiced it every morning. He'd tell himself, "Today I'll meet someone ungrateful, hear a petty voice, witness an unjust act." And the goal wasn't to feel bad, it was to be prepared. This technique turns you into a warrior of everyday life. You anticipate the blow, and when it lands, you've already seen it, already felt it, so it's easier to move through it. Now think about yourself. How do you react when the car won't start? When you lose a client? When a message throws you off unexpectedly? Do you fall apart? Or do you breathe and keep going? Do you freeze? Or do you mentally rehearse how you'll overcome it? Look, you don't need a major crisis to start practicing this. You can start on a small scale. Choose a situation in your daily life that worries you. Imagine the worst-case scenario. Be specific. What happens to you? What do you notice? How do others react? Then say this phrase, "And even if that happens, I'll keep going." Now come back to the present. Breathe. Appreciate what you have before you move on. It's like setting your watch. When you already know what time is coming, you're not startled when the bells ring. That's the key. It won't change what happens, but it will change your ability to face it. When you build this habit, you start living without fear of the unknown. What once seemed threatening becomes part of the landscape. It makes you strong, clear-headed, unstoppable. 4. Patience is your superpower. How many times have you lost your mind waiting for a message? Or lost it in a supermarket line like it was stealing your life? Ever climbed the walls because your food took 20 minutes longer than promised? Or because someone was taking too long to reply? Spoiler alert, it wasn't time that was killing you. It was your impatience. We live in a world where if something takes more than 3 seconds to load, it feels like a tragedy. Where if we don't get answers right away, we make them up. And worst of all, we've confused speed with efficiency, quickness with wisdom, immediacy with success. But listen, a mind that gets dragged around by hurry is a mind that burns out. And when it burns out, it breaks. Picture this, you've probably been there. You order delivery. They say it'll take 30 minutes, 40 minutes go by, and you're still waiting. You check your phone 20 times a minute, refresh the screen like it'll magically make the delivery guy fly. 50 minutes, still nothing. And how do you feel? Like you missed a flight. Frustrated, irritated, about to explode at the poor guy pedaling through traffic with your dinner. But hold on, what actually happened? Nothing more than a delay. That's it. The world didn't end, but your mind acted like it did. Patience, my friend, is not passivity. It's strategy. It's like a dam, holding back tons of pressure without bursting. But when the gates open, it can move mountains. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." And he didn't say it to sound wise. He lived it. He was a slave for years. No freedom, no control, but he had patience. He knew everything passes, nothing stays the same, and time doesn't speed up because you scream at it. Life flows better when you stop fighting the clock. Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations wrote that nature doesn't rush and yet everything gets done in time. Imagine writing that in the middle of wars, plagues, betrayal, and still choosing to believe in timing. Do you know what kind of strength that takes? Not the kind that yells, the kind that breathes, that watches, waits, and knows when to act. That is the kind of mind we're building here, the kind that doesn't break. So how do you actually train your mind to become unbreakable? Psychologist Emma Seppala calls it active calm. It's not about sitting still like a stone. It's about only moving when it's time, acting without rushing, but with precision. She says that the more you train that calm that doesn't get swept up by emotion, the more focused you are, the less stress you carry, and the better your decisions become. And here's the crazy part. The ones who know how to wait well, they often get there faster. Here's one thing you can try. When you feel impatience rise, don't do anything. Just observe your body. Are you tense? Is your jaw tight? Shoulders stiff? That's urgency in disguise. Breathe. Wiggle your fingers. Relax your body. And here's a trick that really works. Next time you get a message that bothers you, don't reply right away. Set a timer. 30 seconds. Breathe. Think. What do you really want to say? And where are you speaking from? Odds are, in that small window, your response will change. It'll be clearer, stronger, more you. Because when you practice patience, your mind stops reacting and starts responding. You stop being a slave to your impulses and you become the one in charge. And that, in a world that pressures you to sprint mindlessly, is an act of resistance. Remember, my friend, the strongest tree isn't the one that grows the fastest. It's the one with the deepest roots. And those roots, they're called patience. If you want to train your mind until nothing can break you, start right here. Stop rushing for everything and start standing firm in what really matters. 5. Get uncomfortable on purpose. Everyone wants to become strong, but no one wants to do emotional push-ups. We want to be patient, but without anyone making us wait. We want to be brave, but without feeling fear. We want a strong mind, but not even a little discomfort. See the problem? Stop chasing comfort in everything. Because the softer the couch, the softer your character becomes. And let me tell you something clearly. A mind that never goes through chosen discomfort is a mind that breaks with the slightest shake. No, you don't need to suffer to grow. But you do need to face what currently makes you lazy, embarrassed, or scared. Because only in that space, involuntary discomfort, is where your strength is built. I tried something myself that seemed silly at first, but it changed me more than I expected. Cold showers. Every morning, the moment I wake up, straight into freezing water. Not to show off, not for some viral trend, just because it made me uncomfortable. That first day was brutal, my body in shock, muscles tight, breath short and choppy. I swear all I wanted was to get out. But when you stay in it, something shifts, not just in your body, in your mind. I came out feeling invincible, because I'd already done something hard, on purpose. And if I could get through that, I could get through anything else that day. See it? Discomfort became power. The Stoics knew this well. Seneca, for example, would dress in poor clothing several days a month. Why? To remind himself he could live with less. He called it practicing poverty. Not to suffer, but to kill the fear of losing. Because once you've felt discomfort, it no longer controls you. The mind becomes strong when it knows it can endure, especially when you choose to face what's uncomfortable. Discomfort is like fire, the kind you fear touching. But used wisely, it forges steel, and you are that steel if you dare to face what you normally avoid. And I'm not the only one saying this. David Goggins, former Navy SEAL and one of the toughest minds on the planet, lives in constant discomfort. He runs ultramarathons with injuries, wakes up at 4 in the morning to train in the winter, all for one goal: to never let comfort make him weak. His phrase is crystal clear. If you're not pushing past what's comfortable, you're not growing. And trust me, that's coming from someone who's faced more than most of us ever will. And yes, my friend, science backs this up. Neuroscientist Kelly McGonigal studied thousands of people for over 8 years. What did she find? That people who experienced stress but saw it as a natural part of growth not only didn't break, they lived longer and better. But those who saw stress as the enemy, they were the ones who suffered the most. What does that tell us? The key isn't avoiding discomfort, it's in how you face it. Because every time you choose to do something uncomfortable without running away, your brain gets stronger, literally. New connections form. Your ability to adapt kicks in. Your mind becomes more resilient. It's like going to the gym, but for your brain. So here's the good part. How can you start training to become mentally stronger? You don't need to go to the Himalayas or run ultramarathons. It starts with small daily choices that change your relationship with discomfort. So listen up. This is where your real training begins. First, do one small uncomfortable thing every day. Say hi first. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Say no when you usually say yes just to avoid conflict. Those little decisions add up. Second, choose one activity that exposes you to something you normally avoid. Scared of public speaking? Practice in front of a mirror. Afraid to share your ideas? Write a post. Struggle to set boundaries. Rehearse a sentence and say it, even if your voice shakes. Third, shake up your comfort habits. Always eat the same? Try a day of conscious fasting just to see how your mind reacts. Always complain about the cold? Take a 5-minute walk without a scarf. See what happens. It won't break you. On the contrary, you'll realize you can handle way more than you thought. My friend, if you truly want to build a mind that doesn't crack when life gets tough, start right here. Choose discomfort. Make it your ally. Turn it into your mental gym, because it's not fire that destroys. It's fire you don't know how to handle. But if you learn to master it, it forges a sword. And that sword is you. 6. Come back right here, right now. Be honest with yourself, my friend. How many times have you taken a shower while replaying a conversation from 3 days ago? Or eaten something without even realizing you ate it? You head to work thinking about what you said wrong, and you come back thinking about what you're going to say later. You're alive, but you're not present. And truth is, it's wearing you down more than you think. Do you realize how disconnected we've become? We want to be everywhere at once, and in doing so, we miss the only thing that's actually real, the now. And that doesn't just scatter us, it weakens us. Because a mind that can't focus is a mind that breaks easily. It's like a crazed monkey in a hall of mirrors, jumping from one memory to a worry, from a fantasy to a fear. It's restless. But if you can sit down and tell it, here, now, that monkey calms down, your mind settles, your energy returns. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And also, do not let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you must, with the same reason that arms you today. The Stoics didn't use words like mindfulness, and because, well, they didn't have English or meditation apps, but they practiced it all the same, every day. When they woke up, they'd remind themselves something you could put as your phone wallpaper. This day is not fully mine, only this moment is. They didn't need incense or whale sounds to focus, just a trained mind, feet on the ground, and no mental drama. While you're stressing about next month, they were focused on the one thing they could actually live. Now, picture this. You finally meet up with a friend you haven't seen in months. You go for a walk to catch up. But while they're talking, your mind is somewhere else, thinking about that email you didn't answer, the message you're waiting for, the dinner you still have to make. Your body's there, but you're not. And when you get home, you barely remember what they said. Sound familiar? The worst part isn't that you didn't listen. The worst part is that your mind, unable to stay still, has lost strength. It can't handle what's happening outside, because it doesn't know how to handle what's happening inside. But yes, this can be trained. Just like you strengthen your body, you can strengthen your attention, because the more present you are, the less the outside world can drag you around. You become less reactive, less vulnerable. And that's what you're working toward, a mind so well trained it doesn't get shaken by the chaos outside or the noise within. Want something simple to try? Set a random alarm once a day. When it goes off, stop. Do nothing. Look around. Notice 5 specific things. Check in with your body. Breathe. It's like saying to your mind, "We're here." Then, pick one activity, and do it with no external stimulation. No music, no podcast, no phone. Just you, washing dishes, walking, eating, feeling. At first it might feel boring, but it's not. It's just that your mind is out of practice being alone with itself. And if it feels hard, don't worry. No, your life isn't boring. You've just spent years training in the opposite direction. Distraction, multitasking, speed. Now it's time to retrain, to take back your attention, because a present mind is a strong mind, and a strong mind doesn't break. The perfect moment isn't tomorrow, or when everything falls into place, it's this one. Yes, this exact second. If you don't live it, it's gone, and with it, your life. Training your attention isn't just some modern wellness trend, it's your invisible armor. It's the art of being so awake that nothing can knock you off center. And believe me, my friend, once you master that, you're already safe. Now tell us in the comments, what are you going to start doing to come back to the present? What distraction are you letting go of today to take back your focus? Don't be afraid to share it. This community is here to support you. No one judges you here. We're all training our minds to be stronger, more aware, more stoic. Are you in? 7. Right to become unstoppable. Sometimes you don't even know what's wrong. You feel heavy, irritable, drained. But when someone asks what's going on, you have no idea what to say. Sound familiar? It's like there's something inside you that you can't quite name. Now imagine this. You get home after a long day, you kick off your shoes half-heartedly, drop your bag wherever, and collapse on the couch. But you're not at ease. You're tense, on edge, with your head full of noise. And the worst part? Nothing serious happened. No one yelled at you. There wasn't any major conflict. But it still feels like something inside is squeezing you. You try to distract yourself with your phone. Nothing. You put on a show, but you can't even follow it. Everything feels out of place. Here's a hard truth. You can't let go of what you haven't identified, and you can't identify it unless you stop and actually listen to yourself. And sometimes the only way to do that is by writing it down, because until you put it into words, that internal chaos stays there, foggy, tangled, and you stay stuck in it without even realizing. And trust me, this has nothing to do with how tough or disciplined you think you are. It happens even to the ones who seem like they've got a steel mind. Even Ryan Holiday, who spent years writing about Stoic philosophy, says he needs to pause every morning and empty his mind. Nothing dramatic. He just opens a notebook and spills out what's inside. A doubt, a thought, a reminder of how he wants to act that day. He says that if he skips it, his mind starts drifting. That moment with pen in hand, it's like sharpening the axe before swinging it. And if you don't have a journal, don't worry. A note on your phone works too. It's not about the tool, it's about tuning in before you go out to face the world. But this, my friend, isn't new. Ryan didn't invent it. He learned it from one of the greats, Marcus Aurelius. Yes, the most powerful emperor of Rome kept a journal. Not for others, not for fame, not even for publication. It was his most honest conversation with himself. He used it to steady his mind, to remind himself of what mattered, to call himself out when he was drifting. In his own words, write for yourself, as if you were facing yourself at your most honest. That's how he trained his mind. That's how he stayed centered in chaos. Do you see the power of this? It's not just writing, it's clearing the noise, organizing the mess, seeing yourself without filters. Because often we're not broken, we're just full. And once you let it out, once you name it, it stops controlling you. So let's go back to that day, the one where everything felt too much. What if, instead of falling asleep with a knot in your chest, you sat down for 5 minutes and wrote it all out? Do you know how calming that can be? Sometimes we don't need solutions, we just need to understand ourselves. And writing is like a flashlight in the tunnel. How can you start? First, get a notebook or create a special note on your phone where you can write with no filters. This is not for anyone else, just for you to let go. Give it a name if you want. Mental downloads, my Stoic corner, whatever works. What matters is that it's yours. Then, every night before bed, answer 3 questions. What did I learn today? What did I truly feel? What will I do differently tomorrow? Don't aim for perfect answers, just honest ones. And if one day you feel stuck, not knowing where to begin, just start with, today I feel, and let it flow. Whether it's 1 line or 20, this isn't literature. It's liberation. Yeah, I know. At first it might feel weird, or even uncomfortable. But believe me, when it becomes a habit, it's like sharpening your mental sword. You start to see your patterns. You anticipate your reactions. You unload what weighs you down. And most of all, you get stronger. My friend, training your mind isn't just about meditating, running, or reading books. It's also about writing what you don't dare to say out loud. It's about putting into words what's hard to accept. It's about turning your thoughts into tools. And when you do that, when you clear out what clouds your mind, you become unstoppable. So tell me, are you going to let your thoughts rule you from the shadows? Or are you going to write them out and take control? It's your choice. But remember this, honest ink builds an indestructible mind. 8. Remember you're going to die and live better. One day, without warning, it'll be the last time. The last sunrise you see, the last burst of laughter, the last conversation, the last time you close your eyes, and you know what's truly unsettling? You may have already lived one of those last times, without even realizing it. We live as if we're eternal, as if we've got all the time in the world. But no, my friend, that's not how it works. Life doesn't give notice. It just happens. And death doesn't wait for you to be ready. I know this sounds harsh, but you're going to die. No, it's not a threat. It's a reminder. And if you dare to look it in the face, it can become the most powerful motivation of your life, because when you know the clock is ticking, you live differently, with more intention, more courage, more truth, with a mind that not even death can break. The Stoics didn't fear this idea. They used it as a compass. Seneca said it clearly. It's not that we have little time, it's that we waste a lot of it. And he was right. He lived what he preached. He knew death was inevitable, but wasting time wasn't. He planned his days with care. He often asked himself whether what he was doing deserved his time, because he understood this. Time isn't spent, it's invested. And if you invest it poorly, you don't get it back. And it's not just ancient philosophy. Oliver Sacks, the neurologist and writer, lived it firsthand. Just before he died, he wrote an essay called Sabbath. He knew his time was ending, but he didn't spiral into despair. On the contrary, he started spending more time with friends, wrote with a new sense of calm, noticed the trees more closely. He stopped saying later and started saying now. He savored breakfast, read like every page mattered, and he said, "Now that my future is shrinking, I live with more intensity, not less." See it? Death didn't shrink him, it expanded him. And that's what happens when you stop fearing death and start seeing it for what it really is, a reminder that you're alive. So let me ask you something. How many things are you putting off for later? That conversation with your mom, that "I love you" you keep holding back. That idea you won't dare to launch. That trip you've been talking about for years, always saying someday. But what if that someday never comes? Are you really willing to risk that? Because this is also about training your mind to be unbreakable. When you live like time is endless, everything feels overwhelming. Every mistake becomes a crisis. Every problem becomes a mountain. But when you remember your time here is limited, your priorities realign, your ego quiets down, and everything starts to make sense. Here's something you can do. Each morning in the corner of your notebook or in a note on your phone, write the phrase memento mori, nothing more. Just those two words. But write them with intention. Let them guide you like a compass pointing toward what truly matters. And before making a big decision, ask yourself, if I had 1 month left to live, would I still choose this? Would you take that job that doesn't excite you but feels safe? Would you stay in that relationship that no longer inspires you? Would you keep putting off that trip you've been dreaming about? Training your mind this way is like using a magnifying glass. It enlarges what's meaningful and erases what's not. If something doesn't make sense when time is short, it probably doesn't make sense now either. You already know what needs to be done. Don't leave it for later. Tell that person what you feel. Give that hug. Forgive if you need to forgive. Do it now. Don't wait for perfection. Sometimes perfect is simply on time. Life is like a candle burning in a room with wind. It might last for hours or be blown out in seconds. And no, you can't control when it goes out. But you can decide how brightly it burns while it lasts. It's not that you don't have time. It's that you forget it's limited. And when you remember that, you start using it how it deserves to be used. To live with truth, with courage, with soul. Now tell us down in the comments, what decision are you going to stop postponing? What hug are you going to give today? No excuses. Or simply write, I live with soul. We're here to remind you that you're not alone. That every step you take with intention brings you closer to a mind that nothing can break. 9. Don't win at any cost. Let me tell you a story that sounds like something out of a movie. A man who had it all. Global fame, million-dollar contracts, magazine covers, charity foundations, even a second chance at life. He survived a disease that crushes many and came back stronger, faster, more determined. He stood on podiums again and again. People called him a legend, a warrior, a role model. Everyone wanted to be like him. But there was something the crowd couldn't see, a secret, a decision he made years ago that slowly pulled him away from who he really was. And when the truth came out, it all collapsed. The titles disappeared, the contracts were torn up. The applause turned into accusations. His name? Lance Armstrong. A man who won, but at a price so high he ended up losing everything. But this isn't about cycling. It's about you. About all of us. Because sometimes you win, and something inside you breaks. You cheat on a test. You pass, sure. But afterward there's no pride. You justify it. Everyone does it. Just this once. No one will know. But deep down, something feels off. So what now? Who are you when no one's watching? Because you can lie to the world, but not to your conscience. The Stoics understood this deeply. Take Cato the Younger, a Roman politician known for having unshakable integrity. He could have climbed higher, gained more power, made more allies. But every time a choice went against his values, he said no. He lost votes. He lost opportunities. But he never lost himself. People said of him, he was the only man who never bargained with his conscience. His life wasn't easy, but no one owned him. And his mind, my friend, was made of iron. Because when you don't betray yourself, you don't break. And no, this isn't just ancient philosophy in a toga. Science has caught up. Dan Ariely, a leading behavioral economist, spent years studying what happens when we go against our values. And you know what he found? That even when no one sees us, something inside us feels it. Lying on a survey, cheating a little in a game, padding your resume, they seem harmless, right? But they're not. Ariely explains in his book The Honest Truth About Dishonesty that these little betrayals stack up. Even if nobody else notices, you notice. You can't help it. Something cracks inside. You lose trust in yourself. You drift further from who you want to be. And the worst part? You don't need anyone else to judge you. You're already doing it yourself. Because at the end of the day, you can delete the history, erase the message. But you can't silence that little voice inside that says that wasn't right. And if you ignore that voice for too long, it starts to weaken you from within. So if you want to walk through life with your head held high, start here. First, define your non-negotiables. What values will you never break, no matter what? Write them down. Get clear on them. Would you say yes to a partnership that doesn't align with you just for the money? Would you hide a mistake from your team just to save face? Would you laugh at a joke that makes you uncomfortable just to fit in? Your non-negotiables are your compass. When the world shakes around you, they keep you steady. Also, when facing a tough decision, ask yourself, could I tell this to someone I admire without feeling ashamed? If the answer is no, it might not be the right move. But if you've already crossed a line, if you've betrayed something inside you, admit it. Not to carry guilt forever, but to come back to yourself. There's no integrity without self-forgiveness, and there's no forgiveness without honesty. Because in the end, my friend, you're not just building a career, a business, or a reputation. You're building you. And every choice, even the smallest, either strengthens or weakens your mind. You might gain money, applause, or attention, but if you crack inside in the process, what's the point? The strongest mind isn't the one that never stumbles. It's the one that stays true to what it believes, even when everything around it pulls in another direction. Training your mind means this too, holding on to your values in the middle of the storm. Because true success isn't beating others. It's not betraying yourself along the way. 10. You're not alone, and that's power. Do you think being strong means doing everything alone? That asking for help is weakness? That talking about what you feel makes you less? Well, let me tell you something you might not hear often enough. No, that's not strength. That's pride, misunderstood. And sure, self-reliance has its place, but connection, that's power. You know what a strong mind really is? One that knows it can't handle everything, and isn't afraid to lean on others when it needs to. Picture this. You're holding a single thread between your fingers. Thin, fragile. You pull on it. It snaps with no effort. Now picture that thread woven with 2, 3, 5 more. Together they become a rope. And if you tie several ropes together, you can build a bridge, hang a hammock, even pull someone to safety. See the difference? Alone, you break easily. But when you're woven with others, you hold weight, you face the wind, you move forward. That's how your mind works too. An isolated mind burns out faster, but one that leans on others, that allows itself to be supported when needed, becomes stronger, more resilient, unbreakable. And yet there you are, hurting but not saying it, tired but pretending, your head full of noise but still answering, "I'm fine." Why? Because you've been taught that asking for help is failure. Spoiler, it's actually the bravest thing you can do. It takes more strength to open up than to keep pretending. Silence doesn't protect you, it isolates you. And isolation wears the mind down. Seneca knew this well. In his letters to Lucilius, he constantly spoke about the value of friendship. To him, it wasn't a luxury, it was a vital principle. He said, "A person without friends is not freer, but more vulnerable." And also, there is no greater pleasure than sharing the weight of life with someone worthy. That's not coming from a romantic poet, that's from a Stoic philosopher. Even the strongest understood this. Connection isn't weakness, it's a foundation. What holds you up when you can't hold yourself? Because yes, my friend, part of training your mind is also this: letting go of the idea that isolating yourself makes you strong. And no, don't worry, you don't need to form a council of wise sages. Start with something simple. Ask yourself, who could I talk to, unfiltered, even for 5 minutes a week? That conversation, no matter how small, can change everything. Also, send a quick message of gratitude to someone who showed up for you when you needed it most. Don't overthink it, just do it. That small act, believe it or not, strengthens connection and strengthens your mind. And if right now you feel like you don't have anyone, start by being there for someone else. Empathy is a muscle, and sometimes when you help, you end up helping yourself too. Because a strong mind isn't one that shuts itself off. It's one that opens with wisdom, that knows when to speak, when to release, when to be held. You're not made to carry everything alone. You are strong, yes, but with others, you are unstoppable. Like a bridge, solid but supported by many pillars. So here's a question for you. What's one thing you find hard to share with others? Tell me in the comments. This community is here to listen and to hold you up. And if you're truly committed to becoming stronger on the inside, to training your mind so that nothing and no one can break you, then when this video ends, you need to watch the one that's now on your screen. Because this isn't just about enduring, it's about responding with clarity, with calm, with real power. Save it now. It might be the next step you need to take. 11. Emotion doesn't decide, you do. Picture this. You're at work and you notice a colleague struggling. You go over with good intentions and ask if they need a hand. And out of nowhere, they snap at you. Sharp tone, cold words, like you've done something wrong. You're left in shock, swallowing your frustration and confusion. But you say nothing. Then, the next day, you try to bring it up calmly and they say, "That's just how I am." As if that were a valid excuse to treat people poorly. Now flip the roles. You're the one who slept badly, had a rough morning, and someone asks you a simple question, and you snap. You didn't mean to, but it happened. And the worst part? You don't even know why. You just feel overwhelmed inside. That's what happens when your mind isn't trained. It's not you responding, it's your emotion answering for you. My friend, your mind is like a carriage. Emotions are the horses. If you don't take the reins, they'll drag you wherever they want. But if you take the reins, then you decide where you're going. No, you can't stop yourself from feeling. But you can choose what you do with what you feel. And I'm not the only one saying this. The Stoics said it clearly, centuries ago. Epictetus put it like this: "We are not disturbed by what happens, but by our thoughts about what happens." And if Epictetus could see you today, sitting in traffic, banging on the steering wheel because someone cut you off without signaling. He wouldn't give you a long philosophical speech. He'd just look at you calmly, raise one eyebrow and ask, "Is this really what breaks you?" That's it. No yelling. Just that stillness that stings more than a scolding. Because to him, the problem isn't what happens, it's how you react. When you react without thinking, you don't just lose control, you lose clarity. And a mind without clarity breaks with the slightest push. But don't worry, there's a simple trick that can help you take back control of your emotions. A study from the University of California found that putting your emotions into words reduces activity in the amygdala, the reactive center of the brain. What does that mean? It means that when you name your emotion, you weaken its grip. Literally. You activate a more rational part of the brain, one that lets you respond instead of reacting. It's not about suppressing what you feel. It's about recognizing it and choosing what to do with it. So next time someone gets under your skin or traffic makes your blood boil, try this. First, name what you're feeling. Don't just say, "I feel bad." Say, "I feel frustrated because the traffic won't move." Or, "I feel hurt because I felt ignored." That gives you context, and context is power. Also, try this technique from psychologist Ethan Kross. Talk to yourself like you're someone else. Instead of "I'm angry," say, "Laura is angry. What does she need to calm down?" Sounds weird, but it creates distance. If your best friend were in your shoes, what would you say to them? Say it out loud. You'll be surprised how much your perspective shifts. For example, Carlos is feeling angry because they made him look bad, but he needs to breathe before he responds. That small shift in mindset stops the emotional storm. So now, my friend, tell me, are you going to keep letting emotion run your mind? Or are you going to take the reins and lead your life with clarity and calm? You choose, and that choice changes everything. But don't go just yet, because one final piece is still missing. One thing that will come, no matter how strong you become. And if you're not ready for it, it can bring you down. But if you learn to face it and not lose yourself in the process, your mind becomes solid as stone. Stay with me, because in the last point, we'll talk about exactly that. How to lose without losing yourself. 12. Learn to lose without losing yourself. They say a Japanese vase broke centuries ago, and instead of throwing it away, someone chose to repair it. Not with invisible glue, not to hide the cracks, but with gold. Yes, liquid gold. Every fracture was left visible forever, but not as a scar, as something beautiful. That technique is called kintsugi, and it's a powerful metaphor. Because that broken vase, now more valuable than ever, reminds us of something. Your cracks don't reduce your worth, they increase it. So what if you treated your losses the same way? Because losing hurts. No doubt about it. Whether it's a relationship, a job, an opportunity, or a version of yourself that no longer fits, it hurts. But losing yourself because you don't know how to lose, that hurts even more. You know what real failure is? It's not falling short. It's forgetting who you are when things don't go your way. It's letting the loss turn you into someone you don't even recognize. And no, this isn't just theory. This is real life. And the Stoics knew it over 2,000 years ago. Take Seneca, for example. He was exiled unjustly, lost his influence, his power, everything he had built. So what did he do? Did he give up, grow bitter? No, my friend, he wrote, he reflected, he sharpened his thinking. In exile, he created some of his greatest work, and he made it clear in a line that still hits hard today. A loss is often a gain. They didn't deny pain, they went through it, and they came out stronger. Now you tell me, how many times have you felt like you were losing something important, only to realize, later on, you were gaining freedom, clarity, or strength? At the time you didn't see it, but afterward with distance you understood. Maybe it was a breakup where you gave everything, or a project that consumed your energy and didn't work out, or that rejection that shook your self-esteem. That exact moment when you thought, I'm not enough. Right there, that's where you decide if you break or rebuild. So here's something you can do when you fail. Talk to yourself like you'd talk to your best friend. Picture it. They come to you crushed because they didn't get the job they wanted. Would you call them worthless? No, right? You'd say they did their best, that this doesn't define them, that they're more than a result. So why don't you say that to yourself when you fail? Next time something doesn't go how you hoped, stop for a second, look in the mirror, and speak to yourself out loud. With respect, with compassion, with the awareness that even if it didn't work out, you're still showing up. You can also try this. After every loss, sit for 10 minutes with pen and paper, or open a note on your phone, and write down 2 things you learned. Because as we've seen before, writing is one of the most powerful tools to train your mind and keep it unbreakable. For example, I learned I need more time to prepare for interviews. Or, I learned that when I rush to say yes, I end up agreeing to things I don't want. Then, write 1 specific action you'll take next time. Don't write vague stuff like, work harder. Write something like, I'll practice my answers with someone before my next interview. Or, I'll give myself 1 day to think before accepting any new offer. And don't forget this, losing something doesn't mean you are a failure. Sometimes it just wasn't meant for you. It wasn't your moment. Or maybe it was just a necessary step to take you somewhere else. Your value isn't in what stays, it's in what you carry through the fall. The gold in your cracks is the proof that you lived, you lost, and you chose to rebuild anyway. You made it. 12 principles, 12 steps to build a mind that nothing and no one can break. Now before you go, ask yourself, which of these ideas hit you the hardest? What are you going to apply today to train your mind? And if this journey helped you, share it. Pass it on. Because we're all walking through the storm. But with the right mindset, we don't have to be shaken by it. We can stand strong. You're not just watching this to feel better. You're here to get better. And now you know how. Training your mind isn't a one-day task. It's a constant choice. It's learning to stay calm in the chaos, to rise when everything shakes, to stay whole even when the world around you falls apart. Every thought you master, every impulse you control, every value you choose to stand for makes you stronger. Not perfect, but more prepared. Because a trained mind doesn't need everything to be okay in order to be at peace. And that, my friend, is real power. If you've made it this far, make it known in the comments by writing, I train my mind to be unbreakable. That way, I'll know who the true Stoic warriors are who made it to the end. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a like so you don't miss out on what's coming next. I also invite you to check out our playlist, which you'll see on the screen. It's packed with ideas, stories, and advice to help you navigate life with more wisdom and confidence. Click it, and let's keep moving forward together. Until next time, take care and keep embracing your inner Stoic.